Hmm. Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're jumping down into the world of XRP, giving you my thoughts and opinions on my slightly longer term price prediction for XRP. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Now if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, the link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not go ahead and check that out. Okay guys, with all that said, let's actually jump down into the desktop and take a look at a few things and talk a little bit about XRP and what I think the future potential is here for this particular project. So let's go ahead and just bring up YouTube, right? When we go to YouTube, we just type in XRP into the search bar and we come up with a whole host of interesting kind of thoughts and opinions and price targets, and some of them seem absolutely bonkers and insane, and some of them seem more realistic, maybe a little bit more sensible. But for the most part, we're just looking at the thumbnails. You're not always going to necessarily get a good idea as to what is actually going on in the video, so you probably do have to watch a couple of different people to kind of understand where they stand with these things. But for the most part, when I come across XRP videos, 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗏 seems pretty level-headed, pretty good guy, get that. Don't really know what extra VOD is about, but $1,000+ on XRP is very unlikely if that's what that's about. So yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of see what some of these guys are really talking about. 3,000,000%, Simpsons predictions and all that. Obviously blockchain backer, good guy, good sensible kind of market analysis and so forth. So yeah, it's interesting. You're going to get a bit of a mixed bag when you just search YouTube and you're trying to ascertain whether or not there's some kind of reason or rationale or some kind of probability logic that flows behind some of the price predictions. And that's essentially where I want to come into this fold, right? I want to give you kind of a realistic, data-driven price prediction based on Elliott wave theory and chart data. Okay, obviously we have all the fundamentals and all those things are fantastic, but you do need a dash of realism. Okay, you can't go from where you are today to $1,000 next year, for example, or as I've seen over the years, very specific dates come and go and no price prediction is achieved, right? So I think it's important that we kind of reflect that a lot of this stuff is clickbait, a lot of this stuff is driven and created just to kind of milk the communities and all of those kind of things. Now, we don't want any of that. What we want to do is we want to use solid information, solid data, and solid probabilities to help us understand what the potential is from a project. And that's what I want to do here today. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump on down into just some of the recent stuff that's going on first, and then we'll jump into the charts. Okay, so we'll start with bringing up, I think, this button here. Yeah, there we go. So what we saw, not only from this article here, but we also see it just here with 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗏. He is very much aligned to my thinking here. Potential breakout, blah, blah, blah. It isn't what it sounds like, okay? There's a lot of bullish news going on right now, specifically if you go to things like UToday, and this is obviously just one of them. The potential breakout says top trader. Now, I haven't read this. I don't need to read this. And, essentially, I disagree that it's on the potential breakout right this second, but a breakout is coming for Bitcoin, for many of these others, and including XRP, right? So we have that piece. Then, of course, we move over to here, basically saying that Jeremy Hogan, again, another fantastic YouTuber, keeping everyone up to date with the ins and the outs of the lawsuit between the SEC and Ripple, but basically not authenticating its own employees' speeches, blah, blah, blah. Very interesting kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into the details of it. Check out the videos from Jeremy Hogan. You probably already have. And of course, then we have this one here, which is basically 516 million moved by Ripple and top tier platforms. Basically, this is all to do with Mexico, I believe, and some exchanges, unknown wallets and things like that. So again, some movements are going on pretty much about the on-demand liquidity services and things like that as well. So not too much to really kind of talk about here. But yeah, again, I'm not going to be one talking about the news and things like that on XRP. I'm more of an analyst, so I'm going to talk about, you know, the data as I see it. So from a fundamental point of view, there's some interesting stuff happening in the space, but I do think that a lot of this is just there to kind of, you know, pad out the space during a bear market, and actually has quite loose use case in terms of where we are today. But with that being said, let's jump on down into, let me find the right button, this one here, and we'll jump on over into this one. There we go. Okay, so this chart here, okay, let me actually try that again. This chart is basically our XRP daily chart, okay? Now, from this daily chart, we can ascertain several things. One, we'd had a really good start from March 2020 lows. 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 ruined everything over here by basically dropping that lawsuit and wiping billions of dollars out of XRP, getting it delisted from many exchanges over in the US, and essentially all these things that he was warned about, but did it anyway, okay? In the name of protecting retail investors, he absolutely wrecked retail investors. So yeah, that is what that is. So then essentially this 17.35 cent range was a fantastic opportunity. Obviously, me and Chris, we were buying over here, and when this happened, we bought here as well, because it made sense to do so because we have long-term vision and all of that kind of stuff. That being said, it changed the structure of things because we were looking pretty good this side. This happened, and then it only ended up with this move here. Essentially, what that looks like is a kind of mini three-wave structure. Okay, so let me grab hold of this move here. So we go from the bottom of March 2020 up to the highs of August, I believe this is, yeah. Actually, is it August? November, sorry. Then we move on down towards December of 2020, up into April, I believe, March, April time. Of 2021. Three-wave structured move, okay? That basically is our A wave, okay, which actually is a W wave, but anyway, I'm not going to confuse people with that. So basically that's a wave one. We then have this move coming on down here. This was actually quite interesting because it looks very much like an Elliott wave triangle, with the E wave being the unpredictable move taking us down lower, breaking down from this triangle, and we are still targeting out that C wave to go up higher, right? So interesting kind of makeup overall for XRP. So what I want to do is I want to kind of give you my thoughts as to where I think our C wave is going to go, okay, where I think the most probable scenarios are likely to be, and where we might want to kind of reconsider. But obviously, what my expectations are on this way up could change depending on structured moves and the SEC and the Ripple lawsuit and all those kind of things. So let's go ahead and make this bigger, and then what we'll do is we'll jump on down into some of this detail, okay? So as I was saying, right, we had the three wave up, we have this triangle move down, A, B, C, D, E, and then we move on up into C. So let's break this down into a 4-hour chart, okay? Because here we can see a lot more of those micro movements of what is going on, and all of this here specifically is the structure that we're looking for. So we're looking for a zigzag, which is basically our three-wave move coming down into our E, okay, our E wave. So basically we had a 5-wave move. Actually, no, it's not. It's over here. So let me just see. We have an overlapping move. So maybe it's just 3 waves at that point. This is the odd one. This is the odd move right here that I can't quite place. And then we move on down. And at this point down here, we can see that we have a clear kind of 5-wave structured move. So we have 3, 3, 5, I think, actually going on, taking us down into this kind of low range overall. This is where I would estimate our low point being. And this kind of comes in between 23.04 cent and 26.42 cent. Once that is done, then we should be looking for a break to the upside. So when everyone, I say everyone, when you have those articles, where is it? Let me find it. This one here, right? XRP is on the cusp of potential breakout. And then you have 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 reporting on it, and he's not necessarily a huge believer in the same things, saying, you know, this actually isn't necessarily what it seems to be. We take a look at the data on the charts, and those two things are not aligned, in my opinion. Okay, obviously we're looking at this 5th wave coming down. The only way to prevent that 5th wave going down is to first move the price up higher than this point here, which is 54.89, and that's because wave 4 is not allowed to cross wave 1. So this wave 4 move would have to go all the way up here to invalidate any potential moves to the downside. Okay, that's basic Elliott wave theory stuff, right? That's like foundation level stuff, right? So in order for us to prevent this coming down here, we have to move up there. And if we do not move up there, then we have to move down here, right? Very, 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 very simple. And if that is confusing, join us in Discord. We've got materials that kind of explain all this stuff. But basically, you know, that's the nuts and bolts of that. So we have to go down before we can go up. And so therefore, it's on the cusp of a potential breakout, sure. But first of all, we have to move down. And of course, this gets confirmed by the common patterns that we see by setting these higher lows and these higher highs. Okay, this actually is counterintuitive, but that's actually not a good sign. And I can show you this many times over. So for example, we have over here and over here. I'm just going to draw it randomly. It doesn't really matter where we draw these trend lines. So you can see higher highs, higher lows, breakdown. Higher highs, higher lows, breakdown. Okay, and it's when it's the other way around you actually get more of a bullish movement. So for example, if we go ahead and grab, this is probably XRP is a little bit tough to do this on, but we'll grab this here. We're setting these lower highs and we're setting these lower lows. We break to the upside. Okay, so when we see these things going in this direction, we know we're going to go down, and when we see it looking like this, where we're losing strength, you actually go up, right? They're the opposite way around, typically speaking. So when we start seeing that, and we know that actually we're not looking for a breakout, we're looking for a breakdown, okay, that gives us room to then start to take advantage of the situation. Specifically, if more people are expecting a move to the upside, then of course, you know, that's going to open up pockets of liquidity down below for whales to take advantage of. And again, that's a common thing that we should probably acknowledge as retail investors, that whales in the space, they do not operate in the same way. They don't just place market orders. Instead, when you long or short the market using leverage, pockets of liquidity are created when you have your kind of liquidation point, right? Let's say you are going long on XRP here, your liquidation point would be somewhere down here. If enough people do the same thing at this point, then a big pocket of money opens up down here. If the price was to gravitate towards this, you get liquidated, and your XRP can be transferred to whales at a discounted price. Okay, I'm not going to talk more about that. It's very, very straightforward stuff. Once you understand it, you see it everywhere, and then you can kind of just get on with your life and not use leverage and actually, you know, trade smarter. But that being said, you know, what we're looking at is this move to the downside. Once we complete this move to the downside, we can then start talking about moving up. And that's where the breakout actually happens. So on the cusp of a breakout, it isn't here. It is down here, in my opinion. And we can take more information. We can take a look at the momentum behind the price movements, and we can take a look as well at the volumes for the price action as well. So if we go ahead and throw the volume on here, we can take a look at decent volumes in the space when we're moving up versus non-existent volumes while we're moving up, okay? This gives us an indication as to what is likely to happen. Okay, so basically we can see that this moved to the upside up here, okay? And we're down here. This was upward price pressure, as in the price pushed up, but the volume was dropping down. That's not sustainable, right? Pretty basic stuff. Over this side, we can see that we have a very similar situation where we actually decrease the price, and it does drop down initially and then has a slight spike to the upside. So there's a slight increase on selling pressure rather than buying pressure. And this is pretty common all the way through here. There's a slight increase probably around here. In this last little push upwards, we start to really bring the volume down. Now, the volumes just doesn't support any good move to the upside, okay? At least not right now. And this becomes apparent from our stochastic RSI as well. So on the hourly chart, we're actually quite high. We're expecting some kind of move down over the weekend. Again, weekends are low volume anyway, so yeah, I do expect some volatile movements, probably just trading sideways in the same way that we have been doing here. If I make this a little bit bigger, you can see that we're just kind of stuck inside this little range here. So if I were to grab this, you can kind of see that we're in a bit of a triangular shaped wedge right inside here. So I imagine that we're probably going to be contained within this over the course of the weekend. On the 4 hour, we are heading to the oversold area, so a break to the upside potentially on the smaller time frame. The 8 hour needs a correction to the downside. The daily is going to correct to the downside. The weekly is almost up into the overbought area. So again, we aren't looking for anything major to happen during the month of August, in my opinion. Instead, I'm expecting, you know, the month of August to kind of maybe take us a little bit higher, but not expecting too much from that kind of regard. We're definitely not going to, in my opinion, be heading up towards 54.89 cent in order to invalidate the structure. From our current price, that would be a pump of about 47%. It's possible, but I don't think it's probable. And instead, you know, we're looking at this move to the downside, probably late August, beginning of September, although timing is something I'm just simply never going to get right. So don't take that as gospel. I have absolutely no idea how long this stuff's going to take to play out. But September, in my opinion, has historically been a month where retail investors panic sell. So September, that's kind of where I feel with that. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on here and now with the latest news. Let's talk about price predictions, and let's talk about where I think this thing can go in the next run to the upside. And for that, we're going to jump back up into our daily chart, and we're going to talk about that ABC structure, okay? With this ABC structure on our daily chart, first of all, we should acknowledge that we still have more room to go down. As I said, right, we had our targets kind of spoken about. We're only 85% down from the high point. So we know that we are actually holding up reasonably well with XRP, better than maybe many others in the space, okay? Now, from here, we can obviously acknowledge that we have that down move, and then we can move on up. So let's go ahead and take our measurements, okay? We're going to grab the Fibonacci retracement tool. And again, on that note, I'm using logarithmic on the chart, and my fibs are also in logarithmic. So just click into the settings, go to style, scroll to the bottom, make sure you're on logarithmic scale. Otherwise, you're going to get incorrect calculations on your fibs. Just a helpful tip. I know many unfortunately forget that last little step there. Okay. So we're going to measure that entire distance, right, from March 2020 low all the way up to our April 2021 high. We're then going to grab the fib, and we're going to move this tool over to our projected low point, okay? This being between 26 and 24 cent. I'm going to take it down to 24 cent because that's going to give us the bearish outlook, right, the minimum targets. Okay, so in the next run to the upside, we've got a couple of key levels, right? The first one that I want to talk about is the obvious, okay? This is a new all-time high right here at $4.75. Wow. I mean, you know, could you imagine taking XRP up so high? It's life-changing. Now, it's life-changing for many who bought, you know, at significantly low levels, $4.75, buying, let's say, $10,000 of XRP at 17 cents. That's not bad. That's a good kind of return on your investment over multiple years. But it's definitely not buying just, you know, 1,000 XRP and then, you know, ending up with $4,750 at the end of your next bull run, right? So I think it's important that we understand that, you know, we're not talking about moving up to $1,000 anytime soon. That if that's going to happen, that's going to be, and I say it can happen. It's not like it can't. It's just it's not going to happen anytime soon, and it's probably going to be a good 5, maybe even 10 years down the line before you even get to a world where that's possible, let alone whether or not XRP is the chosen asset to do such a thing, right? And again, we also have to bear in mind the idea of cross-border payments. It doesn't necessarily mean that the banks have to hold a serious amount of XRP. It just has to be liquid. And those are very different things, okay? So I think a lot of people get too carried away with their numbers and their predictions and all that. I'll probably get a lot of hate for this, but there you go. That's where target number 1 is. Now, we can, of course, overextend on this, okay? So this is kind of where I would expect to happen, you know, with the lawsuit coming to an end and, you know, not really getting a lot of traction behind it or whatever. Now, of course, if we start to see some really kind of bullish kind of sentiments behind it, and maybe you know, there isn't such an increased selling pressure around these levels, then we might be able to push up higher, okay? I would not expect to a price to go up higher than the 1.618 up here at $29. I would not expect that, okay? But it is possible that maybe we come to the 1.382 under really good circumstances. Maybe if we're really, really lucky about it, we can push up to the 1.236, okay? So these are the kind of the targets, right? I think the obvious one is going to be 475 as your kind of ending target. Then, of course, you've kind of got potentially an overextension, maybe at 958, but the selling pressure at this point is going to be absolutely insane. So many people will be targeting out at $10 range for an exit, and that this is going to be, you know, a high point of pressure, selling pressure, that you're more than likely going to get rejected from it, okay? If we think about it realistically. If we are somehow going to break on through there, then $14.74.9, so just short of that $15 is your next kind of resistance line. You're going to get rejected from there, and I would not expect it, but if you were to push up to $29, that is really going to be your trigger point. Now, this right here would be really positive, because hitting this area here basically makes this entire thing impulsive, meaning that they would still move up higher afterwards. We could probably be talking $50 odd at that point, okay? Maybe even significantly higher than that under a 5-wave structure rather than a 3-wave structure. Like I said, I'm not expecting that to happen, okay? But if it does, then you're going to be expecting banks to announce that they're using XRP for cross-border payments, and the entire market's going to go absolutely insane at that point, okay? So that's kind of where I sit with this, right? Essentially, I'm using the data that's here from the trading history of how people have been emotionally reacting, okay? Because that's essentially it. They dumped their mags over here in Jay Clayton's world. They dumped them up here in April. There's a lot of selling pressure, okay? And not so much buying pressure, okay? So you got to think about the people who are FOMOing in. They are not the ones who are going to be driving the volume behind pushing this price up to, let's say, $1,000, $500, $100, whatever your expectations are. I think it's really important that you actually reflect on the information that's available to us, and not these kind of crazy tin hat theories and stuff like that. Essentially, I think there's some good ideas. There's some good data out there from, you know, what the banks are kind of suggesting and all of those kind of things, and the idea of CBDCs and bridge assets and all that is fantastic. But let's stay grounded until we have information that from a technical standpoint as well as a fundamental, because both are vitally important. You can't have one without the other, in my opinion. You know, we should be grounded, and we should have a level-headed approach to this thing. We don't want to be left holding a bag into, you know, multiple bear markets under the guise that eventually, you know, the price might actually move up to these ridiculously high numbers, which, you know, are possible but just not probable, okay? So that's where it is. I think that 475 is a nice target to be aiming for. As we head up higher than that, I think we get an increasing selling pressure, and very, very unlikely to really push up higher, in my opinion, than kind of $15 as kind of a range. But we'll see how things develop. I'm expecting a 5-wave breakout from this triangle. So yeah, that kind of takes us up towards these kind of targets, okay? So I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.